Dylan did just now give us a progress report on the coming update, and unfortunately it has been moved from the September timeframe to the end of the year instead. Now, for me personally, I was a bit bummed to hear this news. However, I have been secretly hoping that this would be the case, and here's why. There are a number of huge releases coming out around the September timeframe. I'm not sure why, but everybody is pushing out these really cool games. Two among them that for me personally I will be playing is Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty DLC and Starfield. Looking at the hype around Starfield, I can't imagine that a number of people who would otherwise be playing Wildlander will have their eyes focused on that game, and for good reason. I understand it's very exciting, a very anticipated release. The other reason I was hoping for this, outside of just wanting people to be able to fully enjoy the update, is a lot of the bug fixes that have taken place would not have likely been able to be added if they focused on pushing it out by September. Because of the fact that they've decided to push it back a couple more months, we are going to see several huge bug and balance fixes that I really think make a difference in the game. For instance, a lot of CTD bugs have been able to be found and fixed, and the list continues to grow by the day. I think having these added not only brings greater stability to the game, but just confidence from the players, myself included. They've also taken the time to balance alchemy a little bit, adjusting the value of player-made potions to make them more realistic and less game-breaking. I'm interested to see how big of an impact this actually has. Maybe I'll want to use alchemy again. They've also taken time to rebalance health regeneration, which, thank you. I have been wanting this for such a long time. It's really frustrating to have a roadblock such as an enchanted sphere, who the only reason you cannot beat him is you just don't do enough damage in one hit. So it's really nice to see that adjusted. I'm also very excited to say they are adjusting sneak attacks balance so that way they can have effect on some endgame enemies. Now, I don't know the details on this. I'm excited to see more because this is huge for anyone playing a rogue type character. They've also taken time to fix broken follower AI, where you go into a dungeon, they follow you, and suddenly, where are they to be found, right? You're in the middle of combat and you go back and they're stuck on a rock. So I'm excited to see that fixed. They've also fixed the weird dragon spawning bugs, where either you have dragons spawning all of the time, like I had dragons spawning almost daily in one of my playthroughs, or you have them spawning never, which is even further frustrating. So it's good to see that that's been worked on. They've also got a visual adjustment, so that way when you've skinned animals or someone else has, there's a physical carcass there indicating that. I think it just kind of pulls you in a little bit more instead of, okay, I've done all this work to the animal, but he looks exactly the same. Additionally, lanterns are going to require you to actually have oil again, which I think is such a huge, small thing, but such a huge fun part of the game. I like this sort of maintenance style effect to it instead of it's just there because it's there infinitely and you never have to think about it. A huge adjustment is they are having a better perk setup for followers to make them much more useful. So what this means is they've added a number of missing perks to different followers throughout the game to make them more balanced, useful, etc., which I find very useful because a number of different followers who were either two-handed focused or archery focused, etc., were missing perks for these abilities, meaning they were nowhere near their full potential. So this is a huge welcomed addition. Beyond my excitement for those pieces being added to the update, there were a couple other things touched on. I don't have any additional news for religion particularly, since I've already covered everything that he mentions in this. You're more than welcome to go check back in my other videos or just look through his updates to see more on that. However, with the missives, I wanted to quickly talk through a couple points that he has mentioned that I am super excited for. The first one being, there are now 35 variations of missives for every hold. That is a huge adjustment, whereas before, if you played Wildlander, there were 9. So imagine there are 4 times more different variations of different kinds of missives per place. These encompass cooking, fishing, smithing, being an alchemist. It sort of lets you actually role play having this job to some extent, as opposed to just a sort of random assortment of things. They're more focused on giving you a specific job, which I'm super excited for. Also, we have a little bit more details on dark missives, such as murder contracts, pickpocketing items from different NPCs, or even grave robbing, potentially. Also, instead of having a sort of flat rate for your missives, the difficulty of the missive will scale better with the reward, whether it's gold or otherwise, to make it worth your while instead of feeling like, why am I even doing this? There's no point. So I'm super excited for that. There's also better, more detailed explanations of the missives themselves, so you actually know what you're doing and what the point of it is. The last thing I wanted to quickly touch on is, apparently doing missives for different NPCs will affect their opinion of you. Now, I don't know what they mean by disposition, whether it's you sort of have this like advantage of speech when you talk with them, or better prices, or something else, I'm not sure. But it is kind of cool to see that it affects their disposition of you in general. Now, this was pretty much everything I wanted to cover. I do think that this is good news, not bad news. Yes, it is a little bit bittersweet, but once again, I think it's just for the betterment of Wildlander as a whole. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, consider subscribing. Stay safe, Wildlanders.